look at percentages and I look at just the chances of she submitting more to me if she makes more than me are less. I put it that way.
Really?
I mean, look, it's like this. There's a higher chance that she's gonna have that short fuse that we was talking about earlier. If she makes more than me, is that not a fact?
Well, is it her personality or is it the man feeling inferior?
Come on,
he lacks the confidence because
let me Sister Nicole and Sister Palmetto preaching tonight.
You are now listening to the Hold Your Point podcast, a platform dedicated to discussing millennial culture and experience through a Christian lens, redefining who we are with cultural excellence and as children of the Most High, cultivating thought-provoking discussion and spreading the word of God with love. Hold your point.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Peace to the planet. This is the Hold Your Point podcast. We are the Hold Your Point podcast crew. And you know, on our platform, we talk about Black culture and experience through a Christian millennial lens. My name is Fortunato. We got the usual suspects in the house. We got DTH, DJ, Michael Joseph, Levi Strauss, and we have a couple very special guests this evening for a very, very tantalizing topic. We're going to let them go ahead and introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about who you are and you know, coming on to the podcast this evening.
All right. Well, hi, everybody. I'm Nicole. I'm the host of My Comfy Couch. So we have a podcast where we post on YouTube once a week, every Wednesday, and we talk about dating, the modern day dating right now, all the challenges associated with that. We always have a panel of single men and women. So I'm on the show today, 37. I'm trying to put my input on this conversation we have tonight.
Welcome. All right, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Hi, everyone. Oh, sorry. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Palmetto. I'm a travel medical technologist. Whenever you go to the doctor and they say, let's run some tests, I'm the person who runs the tests, and I'm currently working in San Francisco right now. I'm from Orlando. Yeah, and I've known Daryl through Salt Outreach for years, which is an organization that helps the unsheltered in Orlando. And yeah, excited to be on the podcast today. I went through the questions, and I think it'll be a great discussion.
Yeah, I just want to add in there, Palmetto is definitely one of the heartbeats of Salt. Like, you know, yeah, if you need anything done out there, you know, go find Palmetto. We did have Eric on, which is the president of Salt. So we're just glad to have you on today, Palmetto.
Oh, that's cool.
And
yes, welcome.
Let's have a great
Definitely nice to have you. And Palmetto, you say you're a traveling nurse?
So not a nurse. Like my bachelor's degree is in medical lab science. So like I don't see patients at all, but I test like their samples. Any sample you can think of, like I run tests on it. I'm like under the microscope, just analyzing blood, anything you can think of.
Very important.
I test it.
Nice. Cool. All right.
So you see all the
That's
good
awesome
stuff.
You call it that, yeah. All your focus
I don't know about that.
all your
Let's roll.
All right, man. All right, so we got a very tantalizing topic that we want to jump right into this evening, man. And, you know, it comes up from time to time, especially when we're embarking on new relationships. Depending on our personalities, you know, we might run into other alpha dominant partners, whether it's female or male, or submissive partners from time to time. And depending on where we land on that spectrum, it can work out great or it can be very, very difficult. So we wanted to go into a little bit about, you know, submission and submissiveness in relationships. And my first question I wanted to just throw right out, you know, just kind of jumping right into the deep end is, what does it mean to y'all to be submissive?
Ooh.
Are we even allowed to say this word anymore?
Like, it's almost like fighting words, right?
I feel like you get the stare of death when you say that word.
It's sacrifice. It's a huge sacrifice. That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah. So when I think of submissive, I guess the clean way. When I think of submissiveness, I think of somebody that's just humble, right? Somebody that's just willing to put their own ideas, their own, desires aside, right? And be willing to take on someone else's ideas, right? Or goals or whatever that might be. So that's what I think of.
When I think of it in the relationship sense, I think of, if we're talking about a woman being submissive, I'm thinking it's allowing the man to kind of lead in the relationship, trusting in his judgment for leadership, making decisions, allowing him to kind of have the last say and relinquishing that over to him. That's what I think of when I think of submission in terms of relationships.
I like that.
Sound good.
I like that. That's a pretty way.
That's a pretty way.
That's almost what I would have said too. I think of the word that comes to mind for me is agreeableness and cooperation. I think that these are basically synonyms. But something I heard you put at the end, Nicole, was relinquishing that control, I guess. And I think it's interesting because to me, I think you relinquish something that you have. And I don't know that they actually have this power.
There you go.
Already detailed.
Wow, you go there. Wow.
That's the only little thing. But everything else you said, I think is spot on.
Oh, so we don't own ourselves. Like, we don't have free will. Like, y'all just, is that it? We're not born with power over ourselves.
Hey,
no.
it was only him that said it now.
Go ahead, Palma. Go ahead.
Just to confirm, the question is, what does it mean to be submissive?
Yes.
Yes, to you.
Oh, okay. Well, I feel like this entire discussion, so I'm a Christian. I don't know if everybody else is, but I feel as if we can't really discuss this word without talking about it from a biblical perspective. And I think that if you're able to approach it from that point of view, it's actually a very beautiful thing. And there's nothing negative at all about it. But people in the world, when they hear that term, because of how debased our society is, they think of BDSM type controlling pornography is just so ingrained in so many of our young people's minds, not only men, but also young women. And so we have a very warped point of view when it comes to the word submission. But as a Christian, it's such a beautiful thing. You know what I mean? I think it's in Ephesians. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't have time to look up these scriptures, but God tells us as women that we are supposed to be submissive to our husbands, and our husbands are supposed to be, I don't know if it says the word submissive or committed to God. And so in a godly union, when the man is seeking guidance, he's praying, he's in the word, and he's talking to God daily and asking God to guide him and help him make the best decisions for him and his wife and possibly their whole family, a godly wife who knows that her husband does have this relationship, she will have no issues being submissive to him. And both people in the union are supposed to be selfless and are supposed to love each other and have each other's best interest at heart. So when it comes to decisions in a union, I'm not supposed to be thinking okay, whatever I want to do, that's what we're going to do. No questions asked. I'm the one who's having the kids. I'm the one who's cooking. I'm the one who's cleaning. So you don't get to have a say. And then at the same time, he shouldn't be oh, well, I'm paying all the bills around here. I'm doing everything, blah, blah, blah. You just, I come home every day and my food's not even ready. It's not.
You got ramen noodles on the stove.
Right.
Sorry, go ahead.
Both people are supposed to have each other's best interest in heart and are supposed to love and care for each other. And ultimately, turn to God for their guidance. I feel like that's what being submissive is to me.
No, that was good. Yeah,
very well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
There goes this show.
Yep.
But
Took all my notes.
yeah. I got a question though. Is there roles in submission though? Do people have to play a certain part when it comes to?
Absolutely. I feel like sorry, that wasn't necessarily me. Somebody else go on.
No, go for it.
Speak your mind.
Well, I think that God created men and women, and we each have different gifts and different abilities. Like naturally, women tend to be more nurturing. And you guys may have heard about this. A few years ago, there was this like kidnapping ring, and the method that they were using to kidnap women was to have a crying baby sound.
Wow.
And without fail, every
that.
single woman who heard it, like regardless of their age, automatically they're like, "Oh, I gotta go help this baby."
Wow.
If a man heard it, he's not even like looking. I'm telling you, like a guy, he will walk straight past
Run
any
away
crying
from that
sound.
sound.
You might start running.
Not my kid.
He might start running.
That's a deterrent for the guys.
Exactly. But women are like, "What's going on? Someone needs help.
Yeah.
Someone needs my care."
That's good.
Facts.
Whether or not they had children, this was like a common response. And so I think by nature, women are more nurturing, and we tend to be more caring. And there are certain I guess, gifts or abilities that we naturally bring to a relationship. Like where we naturally want to care for our men, or like, we naturally want to make people feel more comfortable. Whereas men probably, they want to like make sure the home is protected, like everyone is secure. They may watch out for sounds of someone like breaking into the house, or like, they may be concerned about more like logistics, whereas women are more concerned about like, did everybody eat? Like, just there are certain things that
social,
like,
emotional.
that naturally we're more concerned about. Not saying that men won't be like, like, hey, my kids are hungry, I need to feed them. Like, obviously, things like that will happen if you're a responsible adult. But I think there are certain characteristics and traits that women tend to have just because it's how we're designed.
And although I don't disagree with you, I think it's becoming more difficult to find in this purity, because it's like, now when you see like women are more, from my experience and my view and my lens, are just more emasculated in certain aspects. Like they just, there's that softness, like how you kind of conveyed it, is not like prevalent anymore. And then in order for them to get there, like they require a certain level of finance or a certain caliber of man before they feel like they're going, okay, now I'm going to soften up. But if you met him at Walmart and he was the greatest man and pulled your buggy to the car, it's not going to be the same.
The submission don't go the same? Are you saying, Fortunato, that the level of man affects the level of submission? I mean...
Oh.
Can I jump back in there?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Probably going to upset the guys a little bit with this one.
That's all right.
So I think I know part of the reason why that's the case. And so I'm from the Caribbean. I had to preface that because Caribbean men in the previous generations are notorious for adultery, for having kids outside of the marriage. And what you have is, so like my mom's generation, maybe her mom's, no, I would say like my mom's generation, you know what they grew up telling us? Girl, you better make sure you go to college. You better make sure you get a good job so that you don't have to take any foolishness from any man cheating on you. You don't have to feel stuck in a relationship. If he's bringing in the bills, or if he's paying the bills, and if he's taking care of the household. So our like parents, they're like, okay, go out and be independent and don't depend on anybody. And what you have now for the first time in years is a population where women are far more educated than men in their same age group. And so if you're already making so much more than most of your counterparts, like the slightest annoyance, a lot of women will be like, okay, I don't need to deal with any foolishness. Yeah, all of that. Immediately, it like goes out the window, which is why I think it's important for us to look at things from like a biblical perspective. And I think that women in our generation and men like need to humble themselves a bit more. Like I've had to learn to do that. I've noticed in myself some ways that I had where I'm like, okay, Palmetto, you do need to be more soft. You do need to be more, I guess the term would be submissive. And I feel as if
the struggles is coming out. We ain't in
it's
15 minutes.
Out, but I feel like I'm finally pretty sure I'm gonna get married next year. Like I'm in a relationship right now, and I'm like, oh, like submission is beautiful. But the person who I'm with, like first of all, he loves God above all else. Like he's in his word daily, and I find that so attractive. And I know that he's like, submitted to God, and I know that he loves and cares for me. So it's just easy. I don't know. But okay, somebody go on now.
That's what's up.
I'll definitely hop in here. I think you hit a couple of good points, Palmetto. The first point I think is that when it comes to submission, if you want to ask about, who has submission easier, if you want to ask about what submission is, even in first of all in general, like when it comes to that biblical aspect, I think that's so critical and that's so important. You did got it right. It's Ephesians 5 when you talked about the wives submit to their husbands.
Verse 22.
Thank you. And then the husbands, are supposed to love their wives as Christ loved the church. But I want to even before all that, the verses even before that talks about submitting to one another. So like the first thing that people have to have is just this simple respect for one another. Like men have to respect women, and women have to respect men in that way. And then that once that that respect is established, then you get into kind of the more marital aspects of it in terms of, as you talked about, the roles between a man and a woman and what they provide in the relationship and what you're supposed to kind of respect in those relationships. When you talk about like what submission means, I like to think of it as submitting to the mission. That's a good way I like to think about it. And when I think about that, it's like you have to have as you kind of mentioned it. It's easy. I think it's easier. Advice to my ladies out there, much easier to when you have a man of God, I want to say, because then he's taking that direction from a higher source, a higher power. He's taking that guidance, and then all you simply have to do is follow his guidance. If he's doing the correct thing. So that's when it comes to submission in that aspect. But I loved a lot of your points. But I'm gonna stop there. Somebody else wants to hop in. I know these guys.
Nicole, you think there's roles to submission, Nicole?
Oh man, see it's challenging because nowadays, as Palmetto mentioned, it's totally different. The dynamic is really different than before. Traditionally, everyone's gender roles were very clear. Everyone knew what they were supposed to do, right? The guy, go to work, provide. Woman, take care of the kids, take care of your man. It was very simple. But nowadays, if we want to talk about solutions to what we got going on right now, yes, as Palmetto said, our parents told us, get your education, get your money up, and you don't have to worry about a dude. So when you have women thinking this way and making more than men, as Palmetto stated, how are they gonna, hook up with these men? And then you have men feeling kind of inferior, right? Because a lot of times they equate their status and worth to money. So if she's making 60, 70, 80K and he's making 40K, he within himself is feeling inadequate and maybe not feeling like he's man enough to lead this house, to be the man that he needs to be. So I think on both sides right now, if we are to survive this thing right now, we both have to take a look and perhaps tweak some of the things traditionally that we've been taught. I think women need to understand, hey, don't expect a guy, if you're making 80, 90, to be up there too with you. You might have to go with a guy that's making less, but still value him and respect him and let him fulfill his role. And when you get home, turn off that corporate, I'm your boss type attitude and humble yourself when you get home to the man. And men on the other side need to still find value in themselves outside of their pockets and think about other ways that they could bring value to this woman's life in order for them to make it. Because I'm telling you, this is a big issue, especially within the Black community. We gotta find a way to address this so both parties can like make it, because our future really depends on it at this point.
Very good point.
I hear the urgency in your voice.
Palmetta's cooking.
I know. Let's hear it.
She's on fire. She's on fire.
Hold your point,
Put her in, coach. Put her in.
This is a question for the men. How do you feel about a woman making significantly more than you do? I've literally had guys tell me before that they will not date somebody who makes more than them.
You know, it's funny. I just want to say something. I was talking to my friend the other day, and he's like, "Yo, when you're dating a woman, it's like shopping, and you know, you can look at a woman and tell if that woman has a price tag. And it's not to say anything like, oh, you know, to degrade a woman. It's just that you can look at a woman and see if she's making this amount just by their presentation. So if a man's not going to go out there and spend money on a certain amount if he can't afford that. So if a woman makes more than you, yeah, it could make you feel inferior as a man or make you feel less of a man. You know what I mean? But it's to the sense of it comes where you have to come together. Because if you're making this amount and this person and she's making that amount, altogether, that house is making that amount together. It's not about where it's some say it's 50-50, some say it's, you know, a little bit more than that, but I feel as a man that at least it's either 50 or more. You know, it can't be less than that. That's just my opinion. I can't be making.
I mean,
well, I can't be.
What do you mean 50?
Because it can't be. And it's either a sense where it's 50-50 or I'm making more. I cannot be making less than my wife.
What?
Yeah,
you can't make less.
Hold on, before y'all type the man. Hold on.
Because it's just, and it's true. Like, I mean, if you're what you're trying to say is like, yo, submission has a price tag to it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I'm gonna chime in with you real quick, because go ahead.
Just to wrap it up, it's just the fact that like, yeah. It's just the fact that it's just it would encourage me more if my wife or my significant other is making more than me to get the bag and try to gain even more. You know, it could be a good thing.
Now you flip-flopping your answers, sir. Come on.
No, it's not flip-flop. I just straight up said it. It has to be 50-50 or more. But if we start off at 50-50, I'm going to try to gain more. It just encourages me.
I agree with that.
I'm going to hop in here, too. Look, where I think a lot of the trepidation comes in when it comes to a woman making more than a man in the relationship, and I kind of resonate with some of the viewpoints that might resonate, and it comes to something we said earlier, like the chances when I look at percentages and I look at just the chances of she submitting more to me if she makes more than me are less. I put it that way.
Really?
When I say less, I mean, look, it's like this. Oh, sorry, must be loud. It's like this. There's a higher chance. There's a higher chance that she's gonna have that short fuse that we was talking about earlier. If she makes more than me, is that not a fact? It's not a high. I'm not saying she. I'm not saying she will.
Hold on, wait, Mike.
I'm not saying she will have it for you. I'm not saying she will have that higher fuse than me. I'm saying it's a higher chance that that woman that will, because I'm just saying there's a higher chance that's going to be her personality if she makes more than me. That's what I'm doing.
Is it her personality or is it the man feeling inferior?
Come on,
lack the confidence because that's
Sister Nicole and Sister Palmetta preaching tonight.
So are we saying we're gonna have don't let's not act like we're gonna have the same respect if it was me here versus it was the Breakfast Club guy on this pod. There would be a different level of respect when it comes to some women when it comes to talking about how that respect is treated and how that relationship is treated. You know what I'm saying?
Let me hop in here.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, Palmetto, to answer your
y'all
question,
or a lot of guys. Sorry.
Let me answer your question. So, I would say I would be averse to being with a woman like that, and partially the reasons that Michael said are true. But I think the bigger reason, no. It's not so much the money aspect. That's just part of it. But I think it's the mentality that comes with the type of woman who earns a lot of money. It's something that men do not want to deal with in most cases. Now, I'm being honest now, because a lot of times women will say, "Oh, he's intimidated by me." It's intimidation has to do with fear. I don't fear you. I don't want to be with you. That's the thing. And again, why? The reason why, because a lot of times those type of women, in order to become very successful in that way, there are certain traits you have to have. And a lot of those traits are masculine traits. And these are things that are not attractive to the men. So it's not so much that they don't
Palmetto ahead of you.
Wait, hold on. Wait. Before Palmetto tear somebody head off. But listen,
I didn't want to jump in there. But go ahead, Fortune.
Yeah. So just speaking as one of the only two men that's married on the podcast, and I've been married for 11 years. It does not matter because listen. Maybe when you dating and stuff, like, okay, it's a little different because you don't know her true personality and whatnot. Exactly. But when y'all get down the road a little bit and y'all 5-10 years in, like, it does not matter. My wife can go get 100,000, 120, 250 right now a year, and like, it's not gonna matter. Like, it's gonna make me hustle more, but it's not gonna make a difference because it's like, if we're not dating, we're invested. You know what I'm saying? We're married. So I think there's a difference when you're looking at it from like a dating aspect versus married. Because if y'all came up and y'all was broke together and y'all struggled together, and now your wife went through school, and supported her, and now she making $200,000 a year, like, that's not gonna make no difference. Where you gonna, you know what I'm saying? Like,
that's a different scenario.
Exactly. I was just about to say that. There's dating and there's marriage. You don't know that person until you start seeing their bank account. Now, if you fall in love with them or you guys get together before you see the account, you know what I'm saying, then that's a different story. But marriage and dating is a two different story. You know what I'm saying? Once you're married, y'all money come together. But when y'all not, you know what I'm saying?
I mean,
but you didn't make the distinction, though. You said 50-50 if she making more than you. So at that point, I'm thinking y'all together.
I want to make a point too that just like DTH, just like you said, when they start making a certain amount of money, the attributes that come along with that. On the flip side, the guys who are not high earning, the guys who are making, let's say 30, 40, they have traits about them that we as women don't see as manly, such as the lack of ambition. It's like you're dealing with a whole bunch of dudes who are not confident, who are not ambitious. And it's like, it's hard to kind of respect those kinds of people sometimes as well. So you have the flip in reverse too, where women are trying to love these men, trying to accept them, trying to see them as the head of household. But these guys, they got no ambition. And, that's a challenge as well.
That's actually a solid point, because I was just about to jump in there. It's probably a reason why you're only making 30,000, 40,000 is because look at the people that you're willing to go with. You want to date somebody that's making 15,000, 20,000. So it's your proximity of people. That's why your bread ain't right. Man, I love my wife to death. But if Oprah Winfrey said, "What's up?"
I know she's right there laughing.
Is a door closed?
But hey, it's about your proximity. So like, as soon as that's the one thing that I do agree with you, Mike. Because as soon as you start dating that lady or that woman, or you married to that woman, bro, you automatically gonna boss up, right? Because you're around this person every day. You feeling they hustle, and the way that I'm built is like, all right, you doing that? I'm so competitive. Like, I don't care what we doing. If we playing ping pong, I'm gonna be trying to practice the next day to make sure I'm better than you. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So that's the way I see it.
It's encouragement. It's encouragement.
What's up?
All right, so, well, I was gonna ask another question. I don't know if y'all wanted to get back to the questions.
I think Palmetto got something to say.
Yeah, I think we started with submission. Now it's but ... So go ahead, my bad, Palmetto.
Sorry. No, I just wanted to say, like, okay, I don't remember who all said what particular answers, but they were not from like a biblical viewpoint. Like, when it comes to a relationship, it shouldn't feel like a competition. And I feel as if maybe if you feel like that with the women you're dating, maybe you're trying to date the wrong women. A godly woman who makes $300,000, you should not feel like, oh, I don't want to date her. Like, she should still like have such great character about her that you're like, wow, this is someone who I genuinely want to spend the rest of my life with. Like, somebody who's a true Christian, they will be the same person when they're making $20,000 versus when they're making $300,000 if your character is right. Now, if you become a different person and you start to like show off and stuff, your character is wrong. You need to like revisit your relationship with Jesus or something, like, and ask him to like humble you. So I'm totally against women trying to make men feel inferior. Also, I'm a huge advocate. I don't know what the two married men do in their relationships, but when I get married, me and my husband are having joint finances. It's not your bank account, my bank account.
Sure.
Everything is in the same pot. We have one checkings, one savings, one goal. Because we're now united. You know what I mean? Well, if you can share, you can make a kid together. You know what I mean? You're in the same bed together every night, but you can't share money. What are we? We're supposed to be in the same. We're supposed to have the same goal. We become one flesh. Sure. Everything is supposed to be one. That means like there's some lack of trust somewhere there.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
100%.
that's all I have to say on that. But
yeah, I think Palmetto is right on point with that. Now I was gonna say, just to kind of add on that, like, Fortunato, like, your situation is great, but your situation is also, I want to say, rare. Like, when you want to say a godly woman who's going to follow the principles of the Bible and not gonna let things of the world sway her in that ways the way that a godly woman should. I want to say in this day and age, it's a lot rarer than we think. If you think that they're just out here on trees, they're not. As a single man looking for a stop. But I just want to say, like, like that's not going to be out there, and it's the same thing as when it comes to women. There's not a lot, or I would say the majority of men are not the ambitious, go-getter, top 10% money-making guys. Like, they're just not, like, and that's just how it is. Like,
I wanted to jump in there and ask a question. I know we're talking about submission. I might be switching up just a little bit, but do y'all think that there is a certain level of submission that can be unhealthy? Right? At just putting that out there. What y'all think? Is there unhealthy submission?
Absolutely. And I think that's where it comes into play too. Like, just going back to, like, what some of the ladies said was that if you attach to a man who's not being led by God correctly, then that submission now is going to turn into things that it shouldn't be turning into. Because, like, a man of God is not going to, like, compromise you as a person or your beliefs, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, you as an individual to make them feel better or to accommodate them or what have you. Like, they follow the principles of God, which, in itself doesn't cause like a deficiency in that submission. So I think 100%, like, if you're dealing with a man who's not really like tapped into the source for real, then you're gonna have problems.
It doesn't even have to be a relationship. It could be just like mentorship, any kind of, whatever. It could be even like, pastor, right? But go ahead, my bad. Oh, you done?
Mm-hmm. I think so. No, actually, I disagree. Sorry. And the reason why is because I think words have meaning, and we can't change the definition of things, right? So submission does not mean servitude. It never has, and it never will. So if someone is being subservient in a relationship, that's not submission, you know? And I think that's the thing I wanted to bring up is like, I think a lot of people equate submission with servitude. I'm not your slave. I'm not your lackey. I'm not going to do a... Well, that's not what submission is. So we're talking about two different things. But again, people can't just make up their own words. We're going to have chaos. We can't communicate with each other. Submission has never meant servitude. So I disagree. There's no such thing as too much submission. There's something else that's besides submission. But that's not submission. That's a different thing. So that's where I'm coming from with it.
So you might, hold on, wait. So you're going to have to probably define submission separate from servitude, because, like, just define it for us, if you would, sir.
Submission is agreeableness, cooperativeness, working with me, not working against me. And each other, both ways, right? Because the Bible does talk about wives and husbands submitting to each other in a certain respect as well. So it's not something where someone is just a lord over you and they're just giving you orders and you just following every single thing they do. That's not submission. Submission is what... Exactly, slavery. That's what that is. And that's not what submission is. Now, I think, there's a part of it where I think some people have... Because I think what happened, especially like in the slavery time, there were white slave owners who would use the Bible to promote their evil thoughts, and they would use verses like this and say, submit to your master and stuff like that. And so they're saying, oh, see, this is what the Bible meant, submit to your master, so you must be our slaves. But obviously they were twisting the word. That's not what it actually means. So I think maybe there's some residual from that stuff that's been passed down where people think that's what submission means. But I also think if people take the time to read for a couple minutes for themselves, it's not too hard to see what the Bible is really talking about. It's just that there's this knee-jerk reaction, this aversion to the word where they feel like they're going to be a slave. And of course, no one wants to be a slave. I can understand that. But that's why it's important to use the same definitions of words. Otherwise, we will have chaos when we communicate.
Do you think, and I'm taking it back to Genesis, do you think Adam submitted to Eve when, she presented to him the apple?
The fruit?
I would think so. I think he probably did. Because, she said, here, Adam, take it. And he did. He agreed to do it. So he did.
So that goes back to what I was thinking, like with the deficiency, because if we use that example as saying that Adam submitted to Eve, and if you take it in a relationship where someone who's not being led by God, because at that moment he wasn't following God's direction, is now asking you to do something that's not going to be of the principles of God, then is that still submission or is it servitude?
I think it's still submission, but it's submission in the wrong way. Like, I think, and one of you could probably look this up, or one of you probably know the verse. I think it's in Colossians, where it clearly states that Adam was created to glorify God, and Eve was created as the glory of her husband, Adam. And he should, in that situation, he clearly should not have listened to Eve, but he was so, in the Bahamas we would say parry, like he was so excited over Eve. Like, I guess he thought God couldn't make another one. He's like, well, I only have so many ribs left. But like, he should not have listened to her in that moment. Like, she was being led by the devil. And in a way, he submitted to the devil, in my opinion, more so than Eve. But that's like a way deeper.
We're going to give Eve a pass,
discussion.
okay.
But I know. But I disagree with DTH on that. Like, you can be submissive in the wrong way. Like, I believe there are a lot of people who don't know Jesus who have a relationship in which they're submissive in the wrong way. They just don't know that what they're doing is wrong. You know what I mean? Like, there are people who just don't know any better, but they are submitting to things they shouldn't.
Yeah.
I think sometimes the connotation that comes along when women hear about being submissive is that they're less than, right? And no one wants to feel less than someone else. But just as in the story of Adam and Eve, you see how much influence Eve had. Women, we have so much influence. So just because we're submitting to the guy doesn't mean we're not, as powerful. It doesn't mean we don't have as much say. Just as your feet are just as important as the heart that you have. I think women can look at it as that perspective. It's not that you're less than a man. You're just as important. You're a vital role to the whole function. It's just that your role is different, not so much less than.
I agree 100%. Let me just add this real quick. And I obviously not all men are good men. So there will be some men who take advantage of that type of spirit that you bring to a relationship. But as for me and for a lot of brothers I know, a submissive wife, a man will do anything for you. If you can cooperate and work with him and respect him, he will do his best for you. You know what I'm saying? It's normally when he gets a lot of
resistance.
Yeah, and not just resistance, but like unnecessary. Yeah, because obviously sometimes
combativeness,
and there has to be combativeness. Like there's gonna be things that you think are right, she thinks is right, and you won't always agree. But there's a certain way to go about it. So, so I just wanted to add that on there real quick. I do have a couple questions, but I'm gonna let someone else go real quick.
Well, I was gonna jump into one of DJ's questions for the sake of time because it was a good question and he was stalling on it. But I wanted to ask y'all, like, do y'all think, like, so we talking about like a man in a correct form of authority, right? But what about like men who are just a little softer? Like, do you think a submissive man can be respected? Like, because you have those instances where the woman clearly is running the relationship and the man might be carrying her purse around or whatever it is, and like, so do y'all think like a submissive man can be respected for real, like in the relationship?
Real quick, respected by who? By
exactly.
By men or by his husband?
Well, I guess by his wife, the community he belongs to, the men in his circle.
Now define submissive man, because we define the submissive woman. What does a submissive man look like?
Well, I would put it as like, because you have some women who are just alpha dominant, right? They have an alpha type of personality, so like they're just more comfortable with just making decisions and saying this is what we're gonna do, like and just kind of whatever it is. And then so sometimes, being the head, being in charge, taking the lead, and you might have some men who are just like, all right, whatever the wife wants to do, sure, honey, and it might even to be a degree to more of that. But do y'all think there's an imbalance in that man where he becomes submissive and the wife is leading and saying, this is what we're gonna do, get dressed, hurry up?
So what happened? What happened to a happy wife, happy life?
That's what I was about to say, right?
Yeah, I mean, ain't that what they say?
Well, that's what they say. It's supposed to be happy spouse, happy house.
Okay. Oh, the remix.
That's what it's supposed to be. But I mean, I guess I'll answer just quickly. I mean, I think it could be a problem. I would say you're definitely going to have trouble getting respect from other men. And I think, I mean, if it's to the degree that Fortunato was
talking about. Who in your house?
And then, honestly, I think, I don't know, I guess, I feel like the wife would have a problem with it. To a degree, she probably likes being able to tell you what to do, but there's another part of her that probably wishes you would.
It depends on the lady, though. It depends on the lady. Some ladies like to tell you what to do. You know what I'm saying? So it just really depends on the lady. But those kind of ladies, it's tough for them to find somebody because
But we ain't talking about those kind of ladies. We talking about them kind of men.
Okay, true.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think it will be hard for them to get some respect from others because it's just not the natural order of things the way God designed it for him to be. I mean, if he's literally following behind her, just kind of doing every little thing that she says, then that's not the design it should be.
So if you're at a function and she said, "I'm tired, let's go," do you say yes, dear, or "I'm ready"? Is that submissive? because you're asking a question. It's what it depends on what your house. It's your house. What other source are you worried about between you two as a couple?
Go ahead, Palmetto. Oh,
I was going to add in real quick. She can get it real quick. I think in a situation like Mike just brought in, you might just want to consult the other verse too that says husband loves your wife. You know what I'm saying? So if she's saying, I'm tired, let's go, and you love your wife, you should probably take that into consideration in how much fun you're having, wherever you are, or whatever you're doing. You know, I'm not saying every situation is different. I'm not saying every situation you're going to listen to her or every situation you're not. You just have to weigh what's going on, take into account what's going on, and obviously look at that verse really closely because, if you love her, then you're going to do what's best for her.
Yeah, and Mike, is it okay if he says, I'm tired, let's go? I mean, is that any nicer? Is that a better thing? Is that acceptable? Because he's a guy to say that,
No.
If you love her, keep her.
I was just joking. Yeah, I was just joking.
I know.
Yeah. Go ahead, Paul, man. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just going to say, in my experience, I found that men who are like that are typically raised in a household where they don't necessarily have a father actively present or have a good male example in their home. And so they're used to just like women calling the shots, even worse if all they have is sisters, but they don't have like an uncle looking out for them or like a good mentor from church or something looking out for them. So I would encourage you men here who seem to have good values. Like if you know a young guy in your community or one of your friends who's a single mom and she's raising a son, like take time to invest in them and look out for them because like that's the future generation right there. So yeah, that's all I was going to say.
There's so many men now being raised by single moms and they have no clue how to lead a home. They don't feel comfortable or confident in doing so. So these whole guys y'all talk about as submissive and things like that, there's a lot of them walking around here. So that's what I'm saying. We got to find something to work for what we got right now. That's what we got.
Some pickings.
Pickings slim.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
All right. So I'll ask this one last question. Hopefully it wouldn't take too long. But the thing is, it does say husbands love your wives, right? Now, quickly, is that conditional love? Should he love her conditionally?
Unconditional.
Should he? Not what actually happens.
Wait, I'm sorry. Hold on. Y'all hear music in the background?
Yeah.
Is that supposed to happen? Okay,
we getting ready to wrap. Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
It's just getting hot.
Yeah. So I'm saying, should a man love his wife conditionally? It says, husbands love your wives like Christ loved the church. I mean, I think the answer is obvious. Christ doesn't love the church conditionally, right?
So even when she's not being submissive, you still love her, right? That's
correct. But on the flip side, since you want to go there, right? I believe the question that I want to ask is, should the submission also be unconditional?
Come on, Pastor.
Love you unconditionally. Shouldn't the church respond in a similar fashion to Christ?
If this man's leaving y'all finances down the drain, y'all gonna be homeless because he's making these bad decisions.
Thank you.
Am I supposed to just rock with this dude? Is that what you're asking me?
Wow.
Also,
yes.
Also, I literally just watched an interview from an artist who I'm sure all of you know. When I give the story, you're probably going to be like, "Ooh, I remember that." A very popular gospel artist asked his wife to start watching pornography in bed with him before doing whatever, and she had to tell him no.
I don't know who that is.
And I know you guys know. You guys know exactly who this is. Probably the most influential gospel artist of our generation. Okay, so he asked his wife, and he was deep in ministry. Already sold like 10 million albums or whatever at this time, and he was asking his wife to watch pornography with him. Should she just say yes there, or no? She should say no. That's ungodly. That's like demonic. Like you shouldn't be doing that. So we should be submissive, but we as women, we should also be in the Word and be talking to God and be asking for guidance. Like, the guy he could run out and do some wrong stuff. We shouldn't follow him to hell. I'm not submitting you into the ground. You go to hell, I'm still going to heaven, baby. So like if our goals aren't aligned for the kingdom, I'm sorry, I'm not submitting to that.
Unequally yoked.
Yeah, we are unequally yoked at that point. I'll pray for you. I'll still cook for you. I'll make the bed. If we're married, we're married. Yeah. But there are certain things, certain lines I'm not going to cross.
Well, some people would say that in that situation, that man is not under God at that point, so therefore he's not over you.
There you go.
So,
well, yep. I'm with Palmetto though, because she said if you were married, right? Because there's a difference if you're dating a guy and he starts acting different. Probably don't want to enter a committed relationship with him. But if you're married, if he's not doing something like really, really bad, it is till death do you part. And the Bible does talk about by the 1 Corinthians 7:14, for the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife. So you can be in a relationship like that where you are serving God, like Palmetto said. You're still going to take care of him in certain ways, even though he's not quite doing what he maybe once did before. But you still have a responsibility once you enter into that contract.
And because that opens up a whole nother can of worms. I don't know if we're gonna be having time for it, because even then it's like, okay, let's say like if you as the wife is going to church and you faithful in the church, but now you connected to a man who doesn't want to go, and it's like now, because going back to DTH's verse, like you already there, so as a wife you have to sanctify, but your husband is not with you in church and doesn't come to church, and you going by yourself. But I digress, because that's a whole nother piece in itself. Like, how do you submit? How do you submit consistently? When your man is not like spiritually connected in the same way. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this one up, man. It's been a tantalizing hour with the Hold Your Point podcast crew and our special guests, Palmetto and Nicole from My Comfy Couch, just going over a little bit about submission, man. And, ultimately when it comes down to it, as it's been said over and over and over again, make sure that your mate aligns with the principles of the Bible and God, because anything else from there is a deviation that's not going to work, and you should proceed with caution. So this has been the Hold Your Point podcast. We are the Hold Your Point podcast crew. Make sure you like and subscribe wherever you find us at: YouTube, Spotify, Apple. And until next time, man, we out of here.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is DTH of the Hold Your Point podcast crew. Thanks for watching the video. We really appreciate it. If you like our content, please like and subscribe and share. Get the word out about us. We got a lot of big things coming your way. And stay blessed.